joined tonight by Lucas Stanton of Solon High School. Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. Just a little bit about my background and where I came from. I really got into coaching in 2006. I finished up at Cornell College in 2005, playing wise, and then I had actually come back for an extra semester to finish up my degree. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Matt Dillon, Coach Dillon. He was at Dowling Catholic, I think, in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. And he had just taken over at Cornell as a new coach. Introduced myself to him maybe once or twice during that winter. And then, for some reason, and I really hadn't thought about coaching a whole lot through my 4 years. I wasn't an education major at the time. Was going into exercise science, and our paths just crossed again in the spring. And you guys, if you're familiar with D3, it's kind of like high school. We'll take what you get coaching wise. And I think he was looking for some extra help and ran into me and asked if I'd be willing to coach running back since I was going to be in the area. And I'm originally from Mount Vernon. So I was going to be around during the summer and whatnot. I was cheap help. So there was no interview process, just, asked me right away. And I said yes. And man, that was a great experience. So that's kind of where I got started. And it was kind of, just by chance that I was just going to be around, and I was still a student technically. So, really the only thing that he had for me was just, you have to make sure you separate from the guys you played with. You can't be their friend and their buddy. And other than that, and he gave me full reign of the running backs and let me go. So I was super appreciative of that. That's where I got started, and coached there the next year as well in 2007. Coached receivers that year actually. And then from there I thought, oh man, I think I might want to do this for a little bit longer. So I looked at some graduate assistant positions and was a GA at the University of Dubuque for a little while with Coach Vince Brodigam, who was at Cornell actually the previous 10 years. So then when he went to Cornell, I actually went back to Cornell with him and coached there for a couple of years. And then just kind of decided, this college thing may not be for me, but I did know that I wanted to stay in coaching. I loved it that much. The money at the Division III level, not great. So you get some student loans going, you need to make some money. So during that time, I had got my master's in secondary ed and got my teaching licensure. And I had been in that Mount Vernon area my whole life, and I had a buddy out in Ohio that said, "Yeah, I'm taking over a program that needs some work. How about you come help me out?" So I took my first teaching job and high school job out in Marietta, Ohio, actually Southeast Ohio, and was out there for 2 years as a defensive coordinator and actually associate head coach. Did the strength and conditioning, and then after 2 years, had enough of Ohio. Wanted to come back to Iowa. Had family back here. Just wanted to get back and. Took a job at North Cedar, and I was there for a few years as a DC, and then took over. That was actually my first time being a head coach, was there, and I did that for 1 year. And truth be told, I got kind of burnt out that year, being the AD, head football coach, dean of students. Did the strength and conditioning class in the morning, and my wife's an elementary principal, so we kind of had very not great schedules together. And I knew moving forward, having a young family, that wasn't going to work. So after that, I spent a year at Dubuque Waller, I call that my rejuvenation year, as just a defensive coordinator, and coached with a buddy of mine that I met at the University of Dubuque, Travis Zajac, who's now at Grundy Center and doing a phenomenal job there. And then life happens, wife gets pregnant, and can't make that hour drive up to Dubuque every day. And Anamosa had a head job open, so I went there for 3 years, and here I am now at Solon. Just completed my first year there. So I know that's kind of a long road there, but I think that gives kind of the my background of where I've been as a coach and whatnot. So and just kind of going off the script you guys gave me. So some coaches that have shaped my philosophy through that time. Obviously the guys that I coached with at all those spots, learned from, but I had some really great junior high and high school coaches. I mean, going all the way back to junior high. I had a guy named John Schwiebert who's now passed, but really taught me a lot. just about athletics in general and life. And then my head football coach was Coach Jim Bellamy, who just passed away actually a couple weeks ago. He's in the Iowa Hall of Fame, has over 300 wins, 3 state titles. That man really kind of, left a great impression on me as a young person. And really, I think that's kind of what jump started me into, even having a chance to be a football player, go into college, and then, go down the path of coaching. He was not necessarily a relational coach, but he's very hard, disciplined, military style. But he did care about you. You just didn't realize that until 2 years down the road after high school. Some other guys, Jeremy Elliott, who was at Mount Vernon, he was the baseball coach there, and my college coach Ray Riesland, who was the head coach at Cornell when I was playing there, and now he's an assistant at Marion High School. And then honestly, in that rejuvenation year, what I call it at Dubuque Wahlert, Travis Zajac, who's the head coach at Grundy Center now, him, and then Steve Osterberger, who was the head coach at Buena Vista for quite a while, and then at Loris. He was actually ended up being our O-line, D-line guy that year at Wahlert. He had a son on the team. He was out of coaching, and he got back into it that year. I really learned a lot from those two guys. And just kind of where I was at in my coaching career, they really helped kind of challenge me in terms of thinking outside the box, X's and O's wise, but also just about, why we're in this profession in the first place, and really challenged me to get out and talk to other people, read books, and develop a coaching philosophy. I really had, until that year, I really didn't have and sit down and write a true coaching philosophy out. So those guys really had a big influence on me. And then obviously, where I'm at now, Kevin Miller, I had a relationship with him prior to coming to Solon. Him, Kurt Ritchie, Eric Trudeau at Van Meter. Those guys, anytime I reached out to them when I was a young coach, they always made time for me. So those guys, obviously they've been really successful. And, Kevin told me years ago, rub elbows with those guys that are successful. They're going to leave clues. And I think he actually even mentioned that on some podcast he was on. Maybe he was on one of your guys's. I can't remember. Last year, I heard him say that. And I was like, oh, he told me that about 8 years ago. Rub elbows with those people that have been successful, because they're going to leave you clues, and it's going to rub off on you. So yeah, quite a few people have had an impact on me. And I think anytime you get around great coaches, they're going to leave a mark on you if you spend enough time around them. So that's kind of the version of where I've been and who's influenced me.
Now, Coach, you have some film for us, and let's go. I mean, we really want to dive into what you went into and what you went with. And like you said, you're going to be a power run football team. It's year one, and you're kind of transitioning from the spread.
Yeah.
Let's see how it went.
Yeah. So, before I share some film with you guys, I'll just talk a little bit about, we went to the Gun T, Kenny Simpson's Gun T system, for a couple reasons. I've always been a spread power spread guy. Okay. That's been my, I love power. I love the power play. And then one of my offensive line coaches, I'm blessed with 2 really good offensive line coaches, and they both have wing T backgrounds. And one of them has always kind of pushed me to look at more wing T. We ran some buck in 2017 and 18, and we're really successful with it. So when I started looking at Kenny's stuff, I love the fact that it can be very adaptable year in and year out to your high school kids, because you're just, like he says all the time, you get what you get at the high school level. And I think it's very important at the high school level that you adapt your system to what you have and not the other way around. So that was one thing I really liked about it. And then when we looked at our kids, we just felt like, man, these guys are going to be grinders. They're going to be physical, and we need to run the football, and we got to establish something early and establish a mindset. And I like that from a culture standpoint too, of it being my first year, that I wanted to establish a tough physical football team right off the bat. And I wanted that to be known. So what we did is went to the Gun T, and let me see if I can get my screen shared with you. No, I don't want that. Yep. I haven't done this for a while. Can you guys see my screen? Okay. So obviously, and what I'm just going to go through with you guys tonight is mainly our buck sweep play, and some options off the buck sweep, RPOs, or run options, and then I think I do have one of our a couple of our power plays on there if we get time. But going back to you, as you're going to see here, everything's not perfect on here by any means, but we were pretty blessed with a pretty good tight end this year, and next year I'm not sure if we're going to have too many tight ends in our varsity system, so we may have to adjust some of our formations a little bit next year, and we have more receivers coming back, so we'll still run some of this stuff, but it may look a little bit different next year for sure. So this is early on in the season, and we're running buck sweep here. Okay, no read or anything. This is just straight buck. Okay, and again, like I said, it's not perfect. That's not where we actually want to hit. Okay, so that front side guard comes around. He's got no one to kick out. He's taking a pretty good path. We want him kind of knifing down here, but he's got no one to kick out. He should just keep carrying that little stutter step there. Okay, really forces that back to bounce out. He should be kind of hitting it right where that other guard's pulling around. That makes sense. Okay. And you'll see some clips later on where don't watch that block. That's illegal. But where we tell that back just like Kenny does. We run the hurdle drill where he's following that guard everywhere he goes, anywhere he goes, and he should be putting that hand right on his back. We've done the towel drill a little bit where he has to actually take that towel off the backside of that guard. And what we tell those backs, follow your guard. If you're both wrong, you're right. Okay, and I stole that from Kenny as well. So if they're both wrong, they're right. Always follow your guard. He'll take you to the promised land. So, and if I go too fast, guys, on any of these clips, just tell me to stop and slow down. Or if you have questions on a clip, let me know. But that's just the first one there. That was a pretty good gain. This might be a better clip of just kind of seeing now this number 7 here, our wing. Okay. And we didn't tilt our wing like Kenny does, as you're going to see in his gun tee. We may change that next year, depending on what we do. And this is early on. Our tight end and our wing aren't communicating very well here. And our tackle cuts, which is fine if he does it well, but the Y should leave this guy. Our tight end should leave this guy and continue on his path and leave that for our wing. So again, yeah, it's a good play. And even the good thing about our guys, what I really liked about them last year, is that they made a mistake. They at least were physical to the point of attack. They were hitting somebody. They were never just kind of wandering around. They were pretty physical that way. They were going to find somebody to go hit. But again, this really, yeah, the tight end needs to, this guy's head up to outside. He should be coming right here. If you guys can see my mouse, I can mark here. Again, he's too far back. We ended up moving him to slot receiver after this game, I believe. But he should be up here taking that tight end or the defensive end. And then we have a good, again, our front side guard, he's still kind of hop skipping around. Maybe too deep of a pull here by the backside guard. But overall, I mean, we get some bodies on bodies and we get a good gain. Luckily, we fumbled that out of bounds.
Coach, how much does your O-line staff, rep that? I mean, how many reps are they getting a day, a week? I mean, it has to be
a ton.
Extensive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I heard somebody on a clinic last week even mention that, buck sweep, it's an expensive play. And that's why you got to spend so much time on it. And I've always been a big fan of buck sweep because of the angles and the leverage it creates. So, the one thing, if you don't run it right, which you're going to see, I think I have some bad clips on here too, which you don't want it going east-west. The longer you're east-west, it's not good. And that happened to us a few times. But when it's good, man, it's real good. And again, it's just the angles. And, this is still pretty early on. I'm not really, and that's something we're talking about in the off season is our pulls on this and adjusting maybe how we're pulling. We messed around with skip pull. We tried the, just the turn and run pull. And I think sometimes you just have to kind of do what best fits your kids. So we're going to look at that next year. We have both of our guards back next year. This was from our scrimmage. So again, this is still really early. You can kind of see that guard doesn't get out very well. And maybe a little too fast by our back there too. We try not, just like Kenny says, man, we try not to overcoach some of that stuff, the footwork. We just want to get that ball, take a flat step across, and then get on our guard and go. But when they give us a soft edge like that, that's pretty good. Again, that tight end should not be leaving that guy. He should be just washing that guy down. Wash that guy. Wing should be going right here for this linebacker. I mean, they still get it picked up, but that's not how it should look. He feels like that front side guard probably feels like that corner's not a threat, so he just keeps working up. Yeah, tight end steps correct, but he doesn't commit to it. That should never happen. So if anything, he should be really committing to this shoulder. If anything, we want this guy to come underneath. There's a drill that we do where we literally just tell this guy just to keep turning your butt to this side, turn it to the end zone. And if these guys want to go this way, that's fine. But this cannot happen. That tight end position is so important if you're going to run this. And this is our base formation. We really like that tight end wing, the one side twins to another. Really just feels like it puts the defense in conflict. You're going to see some defenses here later on that are really stacking the box on us. This one is it's a good effort play by our running back too. This is in the pouring rain too. See what clip we got play 4 here. Yeah, and this D line was super aggressive. They were just trying to penetrate all night on us. We get our down blocks pretty good. Wing takes path correctly. The front side guard, I would say maybe is a little too deep. And I know we don't have end zone we do have end zone copies, but I didn't put them on here, so I apologize about that. But I would say the front side guard, from looking at this angle, was probably a little too deep. Had he been playing maybe a bigger kid on that side, I don't think he had his head on the correct side there. He should be attacking that inside shoulder, rooting him out of there. I'd say everybody else got a pretty good down block. Backside guard pulls around and through, but kind of drifts out to the sideline, if you notice that. And it just kind of goes chest to chest, and then our running back makes a heck of an effort play. And that's what we really try to also tell our line is, man, if you just drive your feet, stick on these blocks, we got some really good backs that are going to break some tackles and make some plays for you. And that always got those guys to block a little bit harder. Now, this back, this is Hayden. I always felt like he ran this play really well. He always tried to really cut it where it needed to go. This isn't a great clip. Now you can see, okay, front side guard, man, wrong shoulder. He needs to be on this shoulder, rooting that guy out. We were starting to kind of figure it out. So this wing right here started out as a quarterback at the beginning of the year, okay? So it was kind of a new position for him, asking him to do, but he was such a good athlete, we had to get him on the field somehow. But he was starting to figure it out, taking a good path. But again, he really should be going for that backside linebacker that we get 2 for 1. We don't really like that. So that guy he ends up kind of pushing out, which is maybe the safety there. That's maybe more on his path there. We end up getting him. Back makes a pretty good play there. I think this one's pretty good. Yeah, Jackson does a good job on this. You can see where his hand is right on that guard's butt. gets right on him, finds him. And I think, in my opinion, when Buck hits really well, that's kind of what it starts to look like. You get that vertical push right there, and then there's almost a cutback lane. If you run it, you know, for us, if you run it correctly and you get a good play there. I think this is a great play. We get 3 solid down blocks. I think that maybe I need to discuss a little more is those down blocks, how important those are. You can see that tight end now. That's the one I was talking about earlier. He gets the guy turned the correct way now. Okay. Does a good job there. Good down block by the tackle, I believe. He has no one, so he goes up to a linebacker, gets him. Let's see what our wing takes a good path, takes the guy and takes him exactly. If they're gonna try to run upfield, that's where we want them to go. So that's one of our better ones. But again, this is still really early on in the season.
Coach, not to interrupt here on you, but obviously you've only been in this Bucks game a short amount of time, relatively speaking. But is there any front that really gave you guys troubles this year when you're trying to, whether scheme it up for your kids or just anything in particular that gave you trouble?
Yeah. So, and actually, I can skip ahead here too. So really, one of the fronts that we would get a lot is to that tight end wing. Is teams would start putting their best D line or best end, right between the wing and the tight end. Okay, and then they would have another guy outside of our wing, and that made it. And they would crash hard. And that really made it difficult against some teams. Mount Vernon had a couple dudes there that really gave us some fits. Center point, which I think I got a clip on here. That really hurt, kind of giving us almost like that under front to that, and then shifting their linebackers over. And that's why you gotta have answers on that back side of Buck sweep. That's why we run some read and some RPO stuff. And then obviously, we run we were a big power read team this year as well to complement our Buck. And then we had some downhill, more straight ahead, like zone stuff to sprinkle in there. You got to have answers for that. And, you're going to see some clips on here where the box is absolutely stacked. And you got to be able to chuck it out to your receivers and to your skill guys and let them make plays as well. And, I want to be a little more balanced than we were this year. We were 75-25 run pass this year. That's a little too high for me. Ideally, I'd like to be more like 60-40. I don't get too wrapped up in those percentages, but we do need to be able to throw the ball more and more efficiently. Now, we did have really explosive plays. Like that number 7 had, gosh, what did he have for touchdowns? Like 12 touchdowns, maybe 13 touchdowns on only like 26 receptions. I mean, and they were pretty big plays, and you'll see a couple on here if I can get to them. But so those are some fronts, and I'll try to, in what you'll see, I think, from the South Tama team, if I can get to it. I'll try to get through here. What they tried to really do is, you see how they had that backer walked up, and Williamsburg did this to us a little bit too, is they're going to walk this guy up, and they're really going to try to get a run through and run it down from behind. So after week 1, man, we practiced this a lot, just those run throughs, backers trying to shoot gaps on us. And again, this is the back that does a really good job running this play. Does a really good job. You can kind of see when you get that nice wall built, you get some guys on guys. Now our wing just needs to stick with this. You can't just shove them and let them go. But that's when those plays start looking really good. Even if you get anything that resembles what it's supposed to look like here. And some of our smaller guys, our number 2s, did a really good job as well. And this number 33 does a heck of a job. You'll see him later on too. And unfortunately, he got injured later in the year, but he was a really good wing for us. Let me skip ahead, guys, if that's all right, to a couple other things here. Now, so this is what we called our deuce package, 2 back. and we still ran the same stuff out of it. And that's why we liked it, is we could run everything out of this that we wanted to. But we had two really good backs. We ended up having two really good backs, and our quarterback was a good runner. And we're like, let's get them all on the field at the same time. So we just took out a wide receiver and put in another back and called it deuce. And we're still able to run buck here. Again, this is a backup tight end. He's just undersized, gives great effort all the time. But he probably should have let that guy go. And this is where we got better as the year went on with our starters, is that communication between the wing and the tight end, just talking it out. We didn't really care if the defense knew that, hey, the wing's going to down block. We didn't care. We had that mentality. They still had to stop it. But even sometimes when we did that, just getting that wall, getting some good down blocks and getting guys picked up, we were still able to have some success. I think I looked it up. We averaged 6.8 yards a carry on our buck play last year. Again, that's a pretty good angle by the guard. Good down blocks there now by the tight end. These are pretty good pass overall. Good block by the wing. And again, our thing is, even if we get 4 yards a pop, we're going to keep running it. We're going to keep running it. I do want to make sure. So this is one. I'll pause it right there. If you can look, look at that box, right? We have a wide receiver down here at the bottom of the screen. Okay. And they have the rest of their 10 guys right there. Okay. And center point did a pretty good job against us as well, I felt like, as far as forcing us to do some different things and really overloading that side. This time we kind of caught him in a misaligned, but we were able to do it. We don't like to bounce this play, but we were still able to, when we saw this, we knew we weren't going to be able to just run that all night long. They got misaligned, but that's what they did to us. So we took some shots down the field and we were able to get them that game. So this is, I think, the last just base buck play, and then I'll try to quickly get through some of the RPO stuff, guys. But this is more of like pretty good how it should look. So good kick out. Hand right on the guard, follows him. And when we got 22 and 23 to that linebacker depth, it was pretty good. We were okay with them going against safeties and corners one-on-one. And this team was a super aggressive team, super physical team. And they kind of gave us some fits just staying in their base 4-4. But really like what our tight end does there. That's a good down block. Would have liked to see a better step by our tackle there, our right tackle. But overall, we got some guys on guys. Good down blocks, kick out, wrap around, and got hats on hats. And that's exactly what you want out of that. I'll go through some of the read stuff a little bit quicker, guys, so we're not here all night. But this is a read. Okay, so we call it this is Bravo read this year. We change our names every year, but really what should happen on this is we're reading this end up here. Okay, and when they gave us a 3-tech to our weak side, really what we should be doing is down blocking that 3 with that tackle, leave that guy alone. And they could call a deuce with this if they wanted. They could blade up to that linebacker, or that the center could just free release to that linebacker too on this replay. Quarterback keeps it. Again, pretty good play there. Same play, just out of a different formation. Same read. Gives it this time. Again, the front side of it wasn't great. Forces it to bounce. Luckily, we were able to outrun a guy. Again, it's not perfect all the time. Read again. He gets a give read on this one. And need a better block out of the wing on that. probably the front side guard should have kicked that guy out that showed up late. Here's a pretty good read, and this one is against Wakan in the quarterfinals. And just a couple of things on this, like the difference, in my opinion, the difference between a good play and a bad play is like so small sometimes, right? So we're not really sure what happened on this play, if our tight end got a different call, looked at his armband wrong, or what happened. But if our tight end, who was an all-state defensive end, he's a good player, just takes his steps to his gap and gets that linebacker that gets the run through there, I think we may have a play, as long as our guard picks up the guy that he's supposed to kick out and we get a good wraparound. You know, and our back maybe rushed it a little too much. There was more wrong with that play than just that. But this is a read. So we're reading this guy up here. He slow plays it. So if he wants to pull it, he also has a bubble up top there too with that motion guy. So this is what we call fast. All right. Now this was a pre-snap decision. So he told the back pre-snap, I'm throwing the fast screen now. Okay. So he just tells them, he doesn't tell the line. Line thinks we're running the ball. And we're just getting it out to an athlete, letting him do what he needs to do. And we teach it the same way Kenny teaches this. He should be stepping on the toes here and then taking first threat. So here he's like, oh, they're both bailing. So then he just takes the first guy that shows and let's one of our better athletes go make a play. Same thing here. Now he gives it. And that was a pre-snap again. So he's looking at it pre-snap. We're looking at it. For whatever reason, this was a scrimmage. I think we just told him to give it. So this was something, just a kind of a twist we put in out of our deuce set, kind of an option look here. They had it covered. Luckily, our quarterback's a heck of an athlete, makes a play. We were expecting that end up top. They had shown on film some that they were going to really cut the fat and step down when we got this. So what we decided to do is to put in just a little option play. Well, the end doesn't really cut the fat, plays both. And they had a guy for the pitch. So, but we still were able to get what we needed out of it. Okay, and this is something, if you're familiar with Kenny's stuff, is he talks about quite a bit, is the peak. All right, so we're in what we call our flop set. It's 3x1 essentially. Right there. So who he's reading on this is this backer right here. So he feels like he committed that way and he's trying to get it out quick. There's still a lot of space there, even if he didn't really, if it's a muddy read. Okay, good catch there. Don't pay attention to the flag that's thrown. It wasn't a guy downfield. But pretty good executed play, except for the flag that came in. Again, I think this is just, this is pre-snap. We just told him, hey, this is what we're going to do. Tell the running back. He should give a better fake than this. Sorry about all the comments on there. I thought I deleted those.
Coach, how expensive of a play, to rep this RPO to get it to really be something that you can use in a game? Do you have like an RPO period in practice every week, or how do you get comfortable enough to implement this into your game plan?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with, I think Coach Simpson calls them pods. We did something similar to that, where we could work on, we could work on buck at the same time as we're working RPO. So like we would combine, we would have an RPO period, but then we'd also have, where we're working on mesh and stuff like that. And we wanted to have our guards work on their path and have the back work on his path with the guards. We'd put it kind of all together, just the receivers, quarterback, back, and guards, and run one drill and have a coach out there giving the quarterback the read. Okay. So he'd get the read, even if the back didn't get the ball, he still carried out his fake And then practice, we had him still follow his guard. So they were able to get that. And then we would put, guys with pads out there and whatnot. But yeah, you have to practice it. They got to get reps at it. So, but the nice thing is all these RPOs go with any of our run stuff. So you just teach it that one time, and we just do 3 RPOs really. We don't get too fancy with them, just really 3 simple ones. And then sometimes, we'll make maybe an adjustment game plan for that week. But not a great block there. He at least gets in the guy's way. But yeah, if that answers your question, I think yeah, we usually had an RPO period, and then we would do another one sometimes with working on kind of getting a 2-for-1 there.
Yeah, absolutely. That answers it.
I think this is another peek here. Again, this is a true read. So he's reading that backer flies out of there. Now, the one thing that this is, again, early on in the year that we started talking about was, sometimes this guy might be the better option, might be more open than this guy. You'll see one coming up that it probably was the option. He just doesn't throw it. So, right, this guy right here is probably the one we would want to throw to. Still not bad here, but that guy's wide open. I mean, that guy's bailing back. So later in the year, we kind of came up with, if we knew this is how we were going to get played, we would make a call like X peak or, whatever, we could tag it. Kind of like what we would do with our fast screen. Sometimes our quarterback would just look out and give our receiver a signal like either fast 1 or fast 2. He could do the same with our peak call if we knew we were going to get this type of look. And really, so this is what he does on this one. So I think the other clips you saw, we were running our fast screen to the number 1 receiver. He looks out there on this. He sees this guy way back, and this is one of our best receivers. This was our best receiver. Tells him, all right, I'm throwing the fast to you. No one on him. Just get one block, and he's going to make a move. Again, pretty explosive play for us right there with a stacked box. So those are some of the RPO things off of Buck, and then this is just some bubble stuff to our back off of our Buck play. So we're actually running Buck action, and the quarterback has the option. If this guy runs out or they send another guy and we're outnumbered, the quarterback can now run Buck with it. So some people call this like burst motion. We just call it fly. That guy just sits. So he's like, I'm going to flip it out to one of our best athletes. Receivers need to be more aggressive on the blocks there. But again, one of our better athletes is still able to make a play. And I think if you watch not that I'm comparing us to Alabama, but if you watch what Alabama did last night, I mean, that's the same kind of philosophy, I feel like. And again, on this one, I really thought Q Buck was probably there. Now, the guys aren't really moving pre-snap, but if he just gives like a pump, I mean, those guys, their eyes are going, and Q Buck looks really good. So that was one where it probably should have done that. Now, this is what we call steal. So if we're getting like a backside 3 technique, okay, so like a lot of people will call like midline or whatever, but we're just doing it off of our Buck play, and we'll do it off of power as well and our zone stuff. But he's reading that 3 technique, which is hard to see on this angle. So it's just like our read play, reading a 5 tech. He's just reading the 3. He decides to give it on this one. It was blocked up pretty well on that front side. Yeah, this one, he gets like 6 yards on it, and we've got some better ones, but I like the angle of the video on this. This is why I showed it. You can see we're kind of getting that head up, backside 3. So we decide we're going to read him. He goes down for the back. Quarterback pulls it. Now they were really aggressive with that safety. We need to do a better job on our tackle there, staying on his block. But still 6 yards. We'll take that if they're going to overplay Buck. Yep, this is another one. So now we're calling this key. When we call key, we should be locking up. Some people, I think, just call it lock. We're blocking all across the board here, and we're reading that linebacker who's walked up. So he just tells the guy, and he sees this guy too, backed off pre-snap. So he just tells our receiver out there, I'm throwing it to you. Our back doesn't really do a good fake. But again, it's an easy way just to try to loosen them up, get it easy, 6 yards or whatever. Again, we ran it out of our deuce package as well, 2-back set here. I mean, they're going to play that far off of him, and they got everyone in the box. Would like to see our backs step up a little bit harder than that. And this one, we had a call for our line where we just said, hey, we're not going to do buck action. We're going to, everyone's cutting. So, don't really want to see our linemen just pass set like that. It's getting out quick. They should all be cutting. Those other guys don't need to step back that far. And again, just letting one of your better athletes make a play. And for us, this is, it's like a sweet play. And then here is that kind of that same one I showed you off of Buck, but now, okay, this is a great decision by the quarterback. I mean, it's obvious too. They're pre-snap, they got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys out there, and then this guy, he sees that motion, and he starts to go. Quarterback sees that, and he's just going to take off. And this is a great decision, second and forever. Again, some more fly bubble here. And this one, I think we just call it. No, this is off of power. Sorry. So same thing, just motion him out a little early. He doesn't feel like that linebacker can make that play. He's not really screaming either way, so he's going to dump it out to one of our better athletes and let him go make a play. Again, we'll take that yardage every time. That was the last clip I had, guys.
Awesome. John, what do you got?